We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a, it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And and by the way,
what's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. I know you guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that first clip alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. Guys, we just seen AOC's first appearance on the world stage at the G7 Security Conference in Munich, and I think it's finally safe to say that the light's on, but clearly no one is home. And this wasn't even the worst part of her appearance at the G7 Security Conference. It gets so bad that even Democrats are now questioning how this ex-cocktail waitress got into Congress, guys, and I'm excited to get into this one. So without further ado, let's straight into today's scoop.
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is a, this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States, and I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
You know, you feel for somebody when they're not ready for a moment. You really do. World stage, word salad served up. The dismal reviews for Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's words and remarks and pauses and gasps for anything to say coherently there are really getting bashed today. She was at the Munich Security Conference, and the bashing is coming in a bipartisan way. Here's former ABC News journalist Mark Halperin.
It takes a major screw up for the New York Times to put in their story about AOC that she had, I think they said it was a stumble or something. It has to be a really bad stumble. She has no feeling in her bones about Taiwan. She just thought, well, I'll go with the memorized answer. And I don't think even the Democratic Party will make somebody the nominee if they can't answer that question.
She didn't go with a memorized answer. Democrat strategist Dan Turrentine here.
It was a reminder of you're now on the big stage. Her team hyped her appearance. She froze like a deer in headlights.
And this tough assessment from a veteran New York Democrat strategist, here's the quote: "It was a beauty pageant to show that she had some chops about international issues, and she showed a complete lack of chops." He goes on to say if she runs for president, quote, "She's now given the opposition tons of ammunition to destroy her."
All right, folks, so that right there was pretty bad. If you're asking me, AOC showing us that she's bitten off way more than she could chew. You see that answer to a very basic question. So the original question that was posed was, would the U.S. commit troops to defend Taiwan if China chooses to move in? A very simple question if you ask me, but AOC showing us that she's not a leader that is up for the challenge. And it wasn't all bad at the G7 Security Conference in Munich. We actually had Marco Rubio lighten up the show in total contrast of AOC and Gavin Newsom's disastrous speeches. I'm not even going to cover Gavin's because it was just that bad, and he's not really relevant in my opinion. But Marco Rubio just gave what many are calling the best speech in the history of modern Western civilization. Check this out.
The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. one that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life, and one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts. And above all, an alliance based on the recognition that we, the West, have inherited together. What we have inherited together is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable, because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond. Acting together in this way, we will not just help recover a sane foreign policy, it will restore to us a clear sense of ourselves. It will restore a place in the world. And in so doing, it will rebuke and deter the forces of civilizational erasure that today menace both America and Europe alike. So in a time of headlines heralding the end of the transatlantic era, let it be known and clear to all that this is neither our goal nor our wish. Because for us Americans, our home may be in the Western Hemisphere, but we will always be a child of Europe.
And if you guys were wondering, that's exactly how you give a masterclass in true leadership, uniting nations through very powerful words. I want you guys to see what folks are responding, and it's not just me blowing this thing up. We got Patriot X here saying powerful words. Jay says the whole speech was fire. We come down here, folks are celebrating and cheering on Marco Rubio, and some are saying things like this, which is really raising my eyebrow because I can see it as well. Says Marco is great. I think he should be the next president of the United States of America. Now that right there, it just shows you how Marco Rubio lit up that world stage in contrast to the pathetic outing from AOC. Now I want to flip over because this right here is the part where AOC attempted to correct Secretary Marco Rubio, and she ended up getting absolutely schooled.
Our expansion into the interior followed the footsteps of French fur traders and explorers whose names, by the way, still adorn the street signs and town names all across the Mississippi Valley. Our horses, our ranches, our rodeos, the entire romance of the cowboy archetype that became synonymous with the American West. These were born in Spain. And our largest and most iconic city was named New Amsterdam before it was named New York. And you know that in the year that my country was founded, Lorenzo and Catalina Giraldi lived in Casal Monferrato in the Kingdom of Piedmont, Sardinia. And Jose and Manuela Reina lived in Sevilla, Spain. I don't know what, if anything, they knew about the 13 colonies which had gained their independence from the British Empire. But here's what I'm certain of. They could have never imagined that 250 years later, one of their direct descendants would be back here today on this continent as the chief diplomat of that infant nation.
Even I could admit that speaking after Marco Rubio would be a tough act to follow, but AOC, she turned a bad day into a disaster with her response to Marco Rubio. She thought that she was going to be fact-checking him, but now she's the laughingstock of politics.
You are starting to see the ascent of the right, even in places like Munich. Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that. But you know, I think it's also important to note how thin that foundation is. Culture is changing. Culture always changed. Culture for the entire history of human civilization has been a fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, is, you know, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest.
It sounds like someone needs a serious history lesson, but again, this is what happens when you elect an ex-cocktail waitress into Congress. It makes no sense, and I would love to see AOC's face when she learns where Mexico got the Spanish language from. I bet she'll be blown away by that one as well, and this was night and day between AOC's appearance and Marco Rubio. He absolutely blew her out the water, and you don't even have to just take my word for it. I want you guys to take a look at the crowd's reaction after Rubio's speech. This is what a true leader looks like. What we just seen was a complete coming out party for Secretary Marco Rubio. At first, I wasn't too familiar with this game, but it seems that he has grown a lot in these last few months, this past year, and I've seen enough. In my opinion, give me JD Vance, give me Marco Rubio on a 2028 ticket, and I think the people are going to buy it. Now, AOC, she didn't just make a fool of herself once, twice, or even 3 times. She went the distance in making a fool of herself, and this next one is one that you guys have absolutely got to see.
I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations to act out these paradoxes.
It's going to take some serious furthering of her education for anyone to take AOC seriously in politics. This one is what really had me laughing out of my seat. Eric Matheny tweeted and said, "It's obvious when AOC learns some new words, she always tries to use them all in one sentence." And that right there was the epitome of that. AOC is clearly not up for the challenge, and she's just not ready for the spotlight yet. We have President Donald Trump also blown away in his response to the incompetency on display from the Dems at the G7 conference.
By the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. These two people are incompetent. And at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged. She is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California. And AOC, I never heard her speak very much. And they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either, because New York City is got some problems.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. And this is exactly why I have labeled her as that airhead of Congress. AOC making a laughingstock of herself on the world stage of the G7 Security Conference. And this right here is what the Democrats were trying to put up as a next DNC frontrunner to run up against probably JD Vance or Marco Rubio at this point. And honestly, I want them to do it, because this is going to be an easy win for us. We're almost guaranteed if they run Kamala, if they run Gavin or her, oh my goodness, it's not even going to be a challenge. And then the comedic value, the entertainment that we would get from seeing them in debates, this would be gold. It would be like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden 2.0. Honestly, I suggest this for the Democrats. This is what I want. But then on the other hand, we had Marco Rubio in a coming out moment on the world stage, showing us that those bright lights aren't too bright for him, as he absolutely lit it up with his speech, uniting nations and showing what a true leader he is. I can't wait to see this one unfold. I mean, of course, we've got to wait the remainder of President Donald Trump's term. He's got tons of time left in office, and I'm excited to see what he can get done. But the future looks very bright for the Republican Party. I'm really excited to see what 2028 has in store for us, guys. But now is the time. I want you guys to hop in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this very disastrous performance coming from AOC. I know I didn't cover Gavin Newsom too much, but like I said, he's kind of irrelevant. There's no point in me covering this guy when he can't even run his own state. Just doesn't make sense, guys. But again, comment section is open, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking. And before you guys get out of here, if you could, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one.